Hello, today we're going for a walk in the woods. Not literally, it's raining outside, but I want to talk about the woods. Let's get rid of the leaves. So, it's a little bit late, but I want to talk about a very special autumn we've just had. Now, the reason I want to talk about it now, even though it's really sort of gone past that moment, is because this particular year is a very rare year. It's what's called a mast year, M-A-S-T, mast. Like you'll have on a ship that's got lovely big sails. Up in the middle of it, you've got a mast. And it's called a mast year, and they happen every 5 to 10 years. Now, I can't remember the last time we had a mast year, so it may well be that we haven't had one since you were born. And now I know you're sitting there thinking, what on earth is a mast year? Because if a mast is, a tall thing on a ship, why would that make any reference to woods? Well, because we've had so many languages influence our own language, we've actually got two words that are said and spelt mast, but they mean different things. Now, one of them, the mast in a ship, that's still used. The other one, mast in the woods, meaning basically anything like all these lovely things. You've got acorns, lovely big acorns there, and you've got conkers. You can just about see them there. There we go, without them falling off my hands. Acorns, conkers, any form of nuts, they are called mast, and that's what it means, basically tree nuts of the various forms. It's a very old word that we just don't really use, other than having a mast year, which basically means it's a nut year or a nutty year. Hey, so of course I like it if it's a nutty year. Suits me down to the ground, being nutty, eh? Yeah. What it is, with things like berries, the seeds in them, tiny little things, when something eats them, goes all the way through, out the other end. Let's not make any closer reference than that. Undamaged, and it can then grow into another plant. Now, with trees, they're lovely things. If they're eaten, that's it, they're done for. And of course, the trees want to reproduce. They want more of their own cells to be growing up. So every few years, they're unsure how it's triggered. They assume it's to do with the weather, and we did have a very unusual summer. It was very dry and warm, and they reckon it's probably that triggered it. And they all the trees do it at once, or nearly all of them. They produce an absolute shed load of these things, and that means that they won't all get eaten, because there's much more than is needed for the number of creatures that are around. And when I say creatures, a lot of them are squirrels, and well, badgers are going to be in there, don't you? Of course, they're obviously in there eating lots of it, except for these ones, because they're now used to human stuff, and they like human stuff. They get very excited about human stuff, and they get overly excited and then have to go and have a sleep because they get overexcited. But anyway, I digress. Let me carry on with what I was saying. So what happens is the trees produce all this extra stuff, and it means that there'll be stuff left over. The animals, creatures, absolutely love it, because it means that they will have loads of stuff to keep them going over winter, because obviously there's not a lot of things growing over winter. So, they could starve if there isn't enough. This year, oh no. Now, squirrels, I don't know how much you know about squirrels, they actually hide their stuff because they, like badgers, are greedy little pigs. Yes, yes, greedy little pigs. And they like to hide stuff. So they find holes under tree roots, and they dig little holes and whatnot. And I go to the woods every day, and goodness me, whereas normally you go anywhere near a squirrel, even if it's up in the tree and therefore you can't really get it, they will run like mad. But this year they were so busy with the billions and billions of acorns and what's its that they just sort of ignored you, and they were just busy digging little holes, or just investigating possible holes in fallen trees and stuff like that. Absolutely fascinating. And literally at one point I was going along, and every couple of meters there was a squirrel on the ground digging a hole. I've never seen so many squirrels, because normally they're up in the trees trying to avoid you. Now, acorns and conkers are not greatly useful to humans, so they're lucky that humans aren't going to take them away from them. Acorns we can eat, and in fact they did use to make a sort of a flour out of them, but you do have to treat them first. They've got something that's very bitter inside them, so you have to sort of soak that out before you do anything, and certainly nowadays we couldn't be bothered. The conkers, now you wouldn't eat those, but now this is going to be interesting. You can wash your clothes with them. I know, that's what I thought when I found out. You do have to sort of prepare them first. You finely chop them up, and it's got in them a chemical that is basically soap. That's why you don't want to eat them. And if you chop them up, you can actually make a soap liquid out of them. You soak them and the liquid comes out, and you could actually wash your clothes. So anyway, that does tell you don't eat them. You can eat chestnuts, which look similar, but don't eat conkers, because yeah, they're not going to be nice. But anyway, back to the squirrels. The squirrels can eat the acorns, even though we will probably be fairly unwell with them. They can eat them untreated. And as I said, they do like to hide them. Now, I was really lucky. Now, I found this. It is a squirrel map. And it says, who does it say? It says, oh, acorn map. And the point of it is that they have to bury them and hide them, and they've got to remember where they are to come and get them. So in the middle you've got home, and then you've got one leaf, you've got big leaf, and you've got three leaves. And that's all very well, but at the moment, yes, or when they're busy burying them, there are three leaves there. But when they're all falling on the ground and being blown around by the wind, that's not going to be very good. So what happens is they can't always find them, and of course they have to bury them to stop other squirrels getting them. But also you've got here greedy animals. Now, who do you think that is, eh? No, Fleur doesn't know who that could possibly be. You don't know who a greedy animal could possibly be who lives in the woods? I'll give you two guesses, and I know you're only going to need one. So, yeah, this is obviously an old map. So, oh, look at that. Humans home. Obviously doesn't like humans. Look at that face. So anyway, that's obviously how they managed to find them, although not very well apparently. Now, going back to the name, the fact that it's called a mast year, these are all sort of theories they come up with as to why things are called what they are. And I actually don't like the fact that mast was a word for tree nuts. Why not use nuts? I reckon it was something else, and I'll tell you what it is. Pirate ship. Pirate squirrels. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Pirate squirrels. Stay with me on this. So, what I reckon is squirrels are very jealous of their stuff. Very jealous indeed. They're almost worse than badgers. Yeah, even worse than you. Jealous over their food. And I reckon, especially in my woods, because there's a little river right by it, I reckon they run little pirate ships like this. And anyone that tries to get all their stuff, look, it's full. Look, you've got acorns and you've got conkers there. It's absolutely chock full. And I reckon that if anyone tries to steal their stuff, squirrels will tie you to the mast. Here we go. There's a mast here that the sail is on. They're going to tie you to the mast, chuck things at you. That's what I reckon. And I think I'm right. I think that's why it's called a mast year. Phil doesn't agree. Well, I don't care whether mine is correct or not. I think mine's a more interesting origin to the word or to the phrase mast year. I'll leave it with you to decide why you think this year was a mast year. Toodaloo.